Oh, all right, good morning. Wow, big crowd. PD, Francois, Valerie, George, Maurizio, Kevin, Larry, Arturo, Donald, David, Billy, Pat, Ben, Harry, Dan, Craig. Good morning, everybody. How's it going? So, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Kimberly is in the studio with me, so she's being facetious by saying hi because she's right there. Anyway, this presentation is intended to be informational, educational, and fun. It is not a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument. If you desire personal financial advice, you need to hire and consult a financial advisor. Has a fiduciary duty to take care of you. If you want to chat with me while I'm live, just like all the people on the live stream so far, make sure you're subscribed right here, right where the monster is. And just a few seconds later, you can start chatting. So, big news of the day. Big news. Bigger than anything here. Let's go. I bought a, let's see, hold it up where we focus, a Johnny 5 Lego robot thing. Isn't that cool? I'm gonna put it together. It's just a little baby one. It was like $5. The first thing on Amazon that I've ever been like, hey, this might go great with your purchase. I was like, oh, I want that. And I got it. So I had to buy a new computer power supply for a computer because, well, one of them got cooked. And it wasn't because of the lightning storm. KUB replaced a cross member. KUB, our local utility board, replaced a cross member on the power pole in front of my house. And yeah, number 5 is alive. Well, he will be when I put him together, I guess. Stay there. I got it sitting with the cat excavator. This thing is a large project. If you haven't seen it, this D11 cat bulldozer, still in progress. That was 2 Christmases back for those of you that have been keeping track. Still working on that one. So, still in progress. Anyway, what does JT do in the spare time while he's in the studio? Build Legos. Anyway, all right. Let's get on to what we actually came to talk about, and that is some market stuff, right? So let me pull this over, flip it back, and put me back on the right side here. All right. China buys 23 tons of gold for the 9th straight month of purchases, setting a record 2,137 tons of gold. Now, we're talking about that's 70, just to get 23 tons, we're talking about 740,000 troy ounces of gold. And we're looking at, ounces of gold being right around $2,000. A little bit less this morning. And the stockpile up to 2,000 tons. Yeah, so the power pole, yeah, I had to buy a new power supply for a computer because the cross member, when they changed it out, it fried one of my computers. And I bought the power supply, and it wasn't even related to the storms that went through this week. Crazy. Anyway, that was Sunday, I guess. Saturday. All right, moving on. And so there's China's accumulation of gold. They've gone from having gold reserves down around millions of troy ounces, around 20 million, up to 68 million troy ounces. That's a bunch of troy ounces. Now, what does that mean for the gold market? Well, it's just taking supply out. Now, gold is a finicky thing. We don't use it widely in industrial applications. Yeah, sure, you can get gold-plated this and gold-plated that. We do have jewelry use. And other than that, there's not a huge industrial usage. Now, silver is a different story. And silver, about roughly 15 times more common in the Earth's crust than gold. So that's why the price relationship between them historically tends to hang out where silver is 15 times less than gold. Historically. Now, that's not currently the relationship that they have. And that's why I see silver as possibly the bigger opportunity, because we do use that quite extensively in like solar panel, green technology, and we have a shortage. We just took up, like, we had an oversupply of silver for the last decade. And in the last 2 years, we just absorbed all that surplus, plus some. Yeah, I mean, China playing the long game, and that's, maybe, it keeps getting reported that China and Russia and the rest of the BRICS, Brazil, India, South Africa, the other countries that are going along with them, all kind of going to this gold back thing. This kind of supports that story, that narrative. So just keep it in mind. Now they may level off here again. Historically they go through kind of an accumulation phase and then they kind of chill out a little bit. So they may chill out, but this is, since back here in 2009, they've been aggressively accumulating some gold. Now, other big news of the day, we finally got the 3% pullback yesterday. Finally. If you weren't paying attention, we did get 3% on the S&P 500, and now we're back at 0 days. So reset this. We're done. We got it. We went to the 95th percentile, and we're done. Best silver play. So the best way to be into metals is to actually hold the metals. Now, that does mean that you're the fiduciary and you're responsible for the security of your metals. I'm not necessarily a big fan of trying to protect my metals against all costs. Some people are into that kind of thing. That's not my game. I typically take short-term shots, and we'll talk about some of the opportunities here in just a second when we pop up the charts. Big news of the morning is that Bitcoin is attempting to break out. Attempting. Can we get above this resistance? Let's keep an eye on that. And above this high from yesterday, above 30,200, looking pretty dang sweet for Bitcoin to continue higher. Now, I brought GLD. This is a popular way to trade gold, but it is a trust. And it's been widely reported that GLD possibly doesn't have the reserves to back the paper that they've issued for this ETF. The same with SLV, that potentially there is not enough paper to cover the SLV. I mean, not enough silver to cover the paper of SLV. So, yeah, that's a lot of people say if you don't hold it, you don't own it. That is highly true. But can we trade SLV and GLD on short-term runs? Sure. And these both look like they're probably going to dip a little lower than what we saw back here in June. Both these charts, both SLV and GLD. Now, GLD is finally down to the roadmap line. If we look at the actual gold futures chart, we're not quite there. We may see a little deeper go at this. If we can pop down here, hold this. I always go to the futures because they trade 23.5 and seem to be the most accurate prices, kind of. I know the spot price is different, but I don't have a great way to chart spot prices. I mean, we can pull it up on here, but that's a TVC and commodity. I mean, you might as well just check out the gold. And we get futures from Mexico. You might as well just use GC1. And if you're unfamiliar how to get that on like a platform, it's like /GC on a lot of platforms. If you're in TradingView, it's GC1 exclamation point. So you can pull up the spot price from other places, but I tend to stick with the futures. So that's what we got. Now, S&P 500, like I was saying, let's circle back to that. We did finally reach this 3% pullback. Now, is that the end? Is this the end of the pullback? I don't know yet. We got 3%. That was the minimum. We have met the minimum requirements for this pullback to be complete. It does have a 3-wave. It is proportional. And it could be shaping up like a 5-wave, though. If it's a 5-wave down, that means we may get a 3-wave type retrace, hold a 618 to 50 to 618 retrace, and then go lower. And that looks something like this right here. Load this chart up. Love all the alerts popping off. Could do something like this. Is this possible? You're sure betcha it is. All right. If we're going to go that low, we're probably going to get a fair retrace. It's typically what happens. We can look at these back here. We typically get a few days of retrace in there and then drop on out. It happens over and over on major corrections. I mean, Somewhere in here, we get some rallies, and then we drop on down. We're not likely just to flush on out right now. And this is simplified on the daily closes for the S&P 500. Diving on down, what do we have on the micro time frames? Right there. We broke above the downtrend line. We're not holding the roadmap line on the 30. That's like, come on. I was hoping we would hold it. Looks like we're going to push down, retest this trend line. If we can't hold the trend line, we're going lower low. How low would that go? At this point, low of yesterday, high of today. I use the futures because we have the overnight action. And if you're unfamiliar with ES1, SPX, SPY, SPXL, SPXS, all the S&P 500 derivatives, XSP, you name it. You just have to have a little adjustment factor. Like SPX runs about $20 cheaper than ES. So we're looking like 44.66 is the target on the downside here. And that corresponds with, zoom it out, zoom it out, zoom it out. I don't even know where that corresponds. Roughly that high right there. Yep, come on across. Roughly right there. That was the last little spike before we got this reversal back here in July. We did find some support yesterday right in there. Are we going to go retest it again? Or can we hold that trend line? And it's just a little baby trend line, not a big long one. So I do want to see that hold if we're going to go higher. Right now, that 50 level is up here around 45.60. That 618 level up here around 45.75. Got to break above those to start going higher again. If we stay down, if we turn down, and you can see this one right here and this one right here at those levels, that's an indication that this could be the bottom because those levels come in right at the fib lines. And we could bust up and go higher. Not sold yet. Not sold. If we can hold the trend line, a little poke could be possible. That's kind of what I'm watching. I'm watching this closely. This is like edge of my seat watching this right now. And the market is open. Let's go ahead and talk about some more stuff. NQ turning down off the 30-minute. That's no bueno right there. Not good. That can definitely lead to lower prices. For NQ today, that's looking like we could go down to 15,150, possibly 15,076. If you're unfamiliar with NQ, that's QQQ, all the QQQ derivatives. That's how you would play QQQ. NDX right there, that's the NASDAQ. Russell right here, turning down off the roadmap line also, and accelerating a little bit into the open. So this one, when we glanced off of that, on the daily here, pop back up. When we glanced off that trend line, this was a longer term trend line from back here in August. In February, we poked up, couldn't hold it. Now we're down below. That usually indicates we're on a path to do a bigger retrace. At least a 618 level down here, if not the roadmap line. And if we get below that, we could go down to this 618 down here. That's what we got. And that's showing a little weakness. This could be leading the market. This could be the indication we're going to see some lower prices. Keep an eye. It's a whole picture thing. So, oil breaking on up. The target, the head and shoulders target, or the whole head and shoulder, the wedge target. Did this wedge thing and then popped out. That wedge. Usually, when we pop out of a wedge, not all the time. It's kind of like a 70% of the time situation. So when I say usually when we break out of a wedge, we travel the distance of the beginning of the wedge. So that would put us right up here as resistance at 84.53. Then we see what happens. Like that's the end of my high probability run on oil without getting some sort of bigger retrace. As you can see, we haven't really retraced since right back here, late June. Just kind of been on a tear. A couple days resistance at the roadmap line. And tearing on up. Now, we don't really have another resistance level till up here around 93. So if we break out above 84.50, we may just rally right on up to 93. Above this line, can't just take it right on up. That's not high probability though. I like going after the high probability stuff. That's not high probability stuff. So I'm just kind of sitting and waiting for my spot. GC, as I talked about, probably coming back to the roadmap line, showing a little weakness. If it can save that box and break out above this prior high from a couple days back in like July 31st, probably going up. But the high probability move right now would be a retrace on down to this 1935 area. We'll see. We'll see. Bitcoin, already kind of touched on that. Looking like we can break out higher. This is the futures for Bitcoin, running a little different prices, but very similar. If we can break out, hold above that high at 13,290, that would be positive. If we can get above this high, we're probably going on up to the targets, 32.8, possibly on up to 35. And if we really got sparky, we could be all the way up here around near 40,000. Not sure it's got the guts and the support, and the participation to get to 40,000 right now. We may just stop at one of these lower fibs and retrace again. Ethereum still looking kind of weak. There's just not the participation that we need to get higher prices on Ethereum. This one still may go lower. I just have to warn right now that this is not overly bullish looking. It's not even making a lot of headlines lately, so be careful. Dollar, still finding resistance at that roadmap line, and if we get below the bottom of the orange box here, probably going on down to that lower target that I've been mentioning for a while. All right, other ways to play gold. You could play in the miners. You notice this chart is drastically different than the GC and GLD charts. This is kind of bearish and may push lower. Be careful. If we break out above this though, after we hold a higher low, this can be quite bullish. So just, here's the range basically. We break down below here, probably going lower. We break above here, probably going on up and setting a new high, then we set right back here. So that's the range. In EM, similar situation, except it is lower. So it doesn't have the bullish. This indicates that NEM is probably going lower. Now the extension target for that move would be like 38, possibly 36. GDX, gold miners, you can see looks more like the NEM chart because NEM is basically the largest component. Probably going to extend down to 27, possibly 26.50. And GDXJ, this is the junior miners, a little different. You never knew there were so many ways to play gold, did you? Anyway, that right now, holding a higher low, again, breaking out above here can take us higher. If we break down, probably somewhere around 32 and 30. And just because they're junior miners doesn't mean it's cheaper than playing GDX. So this is actually priced a little higher. And that's a big head and shoulders type pattern. So actually it looks kind of like a head, shoulders. Watch yourself on this one. Could see an extension lower. That move could put us somewhere right down here. Lower low. I'm in it for the long game out to 2025. Not GDX, but I'm in GLD out to 2025. That has a similar head and shoulders thing cooking. If we were to see this breakdown, roughly the neckline, we could see gold drop on down like that. All right. There we go. All right. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of people that talk about gold, and I just watch the technical patterns. I don't actually get into it's viewers like you that love the fundamental stories, but I just trade these technical patterns and watch them. We've held support here. If we get below that support, that's the first sign that there's trouble brewing. Trouble brewing here. So there's the support level right there. Moving on. AXON. Nice pop back above the roadmap line. If we can get above this high, 206, that would be the first indication, an aggressive entry right there. More conservatively, we have to pull this down to the ultimate low. More conservatively, kind of just above that, about 212. Could take us on out to 245, 264 on the upside. These guys look pretty good. I mean, that's a classic kind of market roadmap pattern with a final flush. If it can start turning up, I'd expect that to rally on up. Celsius Holdings, wow. Oh, man. Look at that target. I amaze myself sometimes. Drew that target, and it's sitting right almost in the smack dab middle of that thing. Beautiful. I would expect it to retrace after that. That was a... Sometimes I get lucky. Is it better to be lucky or good? I don't know if that's lucky or good. You guys can let me know in the chat, but dang. That one hit right in there. Don't expect much else except a retrace. Duolingo, bouncing off the roadmap line. That's a beautiful three-wave retrace. Unfortunately, the depth of the three-wave retrace on the second move there, it's gonna have to... You're gonna have to see a move up to 162 to get the 180 to 193. All right, gravity. I saw this, putting it on the list. I was thinking gravy. Anyway, let's see. I got to run a couple different things here just to check. Move the line, not the chart. Move the line, not the chart. Yeah. Looks like we could use a little bit deeper on that one. It's not very proportional to other moves at the moment. Kind of has a three-wave-ish. When we zoom in here, not proportional. Third wave came up short from what I would expect. Yeah. Probably going to go lower. If that's it, though, probably need to close above these highs and push out to 85, possibly 89. Oil, this thing, man. The chart is nasty on this thing. We've got resistance coming right across here. It is a decaying asset. They did a reverse split that messed with the numbers here. It just messed up the chart. It's leveraged, and be careful. Leverage doesn't always work on my charts. And when we look at the actual underlying, I mean, a rally right up the roadmap line. If it can get above, that's the first sign that this is something to look at. But that can go right back to the bottom of the box. I mean, look, the range has been since February back here. We've just been farting around in the range. Poking up today. Is this going to be a fake out or is it going to be a breakout? Come back tomorrow. I can look at it. But today, it's just not interesting to me. That's so sloppy and overlapping. That is not set up for continuation. It's set up for another rip right back down near the bottom. Akamai, beautiful pop. Hey, Kimberly, here's Akamai. I was telling you about. I was telling you they were one of the cloud providers that the internet runs on. And here's their stock. Anyway, that retrace right there. We were having a conversation about this, what, Sunday night? When the internet glitched, yeah. Anyway, 102 is the target. Probably the classic pattern would be to retrace back to the 100, retrace the gap up, and then push out like that. MSTR, nice little bounce. If Bitcoin continues, this thing will probably push out higher. Target would be right up here, more than likely. And probably should update the fib lines. The high to the low. Right there's where the target comes from. May stop at 504, 544 above that. Could reach down to the roadmap line. Entirely possible. We do have this like double support built up and this prior high right up here, which would probably pull that up just a hair. Cover the prior high. We could come down and test that. So far, though, looking positive. Go Bitcoin, go. All right, CRL, that's holding the roadmap line. Nothing beautiful to look at right there. That's sloppy. Sloppy choppy. What are you in this for? Do you want to just chase stuff? You know, think about this, really. I mean, think about this. Do you want to just chase stuff? I mean, do you want to chase whatever is making the news? Get chopped up? Or are you in this to make some money? If you want to make money, you got to do high probability patterns. Now, this pattern right here, not high probability. This is low probability with all this choppy junk. So I would not be buying something like this, even though it's a big mover today. MRTX, that one, again, that's a therapeutic. It's going to be in the biotech space. For gosh sake, be careful. They don't always follow my patterns, but this is a garbage. This is not just a biotech, but this is a dumpster fire right here. Look at that. That is a hot mess of a chart. Don't chase stuff like this, all right? When you pull it up and you're like, oh, I wonder if that's the bottom. That is the first, that should be the first red flag. You know, print it out, put it on the wall beside your monitor. Are you trying to pick a bottom? Just avoid it until it's proving to you that it's going higher. That one looks gnarly. Lower is where it can go easily. Pin, that's another one. Chopping down, it did gap up to the roadmap line. That's still a lower low. Draw the trend line, zoom out. Look at this baby. It's just touching that trend line. If it closes back below there, you can easily go lower. ARRY, choppy hot mess, popping up. It's just chopping. I mean, it's just chopping. Can you make money in chop? Well, you could. That's not my game. I like the high probability big moves. They tend to produce a lot of money for me when they actually work out, which is more often than not. Carvana, that's gotten to a point where it's just consolidating. It's having trouble breaking through this prior high. It may retrace this whole thing. They haven't really solved their company's problems. They got some refinancing. They're still losing a crap ton of money on a lot of revenue. They should be able to at least squeak out a break even on that much revenue, but they're not. They're making up for in volume what they're losing in the short term and making it worse. So, you know, if you move a lot of volume and you lose a little bit of money, or I mean, if you move a little volume and you lose a little money, then and you think you can scale it up and make money, but then you scale it up and you lose more money, you got to do something different. And doing something different is not what they're doing right now. And how long can the financing work when they're losing that much money? Watch out. Still expecting to lose more money. So, Twilio, ouch. Probably coming down to the bottom. I talked about that on the 30 Minutes of Awesome last night. SCPL, nice pop. Right up there, that little dot. Can't even hardly see it. Potentially breaking out higher. We'd have to run this is like a long-term pattern here. Didn't really give me much confidence that this would pop out. And just breaking out slightly, if it can actually do it, probably 25, maybe 29 in the upside. Otherwise, this thing can drop right back down to the roadmap line. That's kind of that's not the most convincing price action right there for me that we're going to get continuation. SMCI. Oh, baby. Look at that move. This one's going to fall from grace. If you can afford them, the puts are probably going to pay out hugely when this comes back down to the target. Right off the 1618, the final 1618. Yep. Don't got much to say, except I warned and warned and warned that this was going to come back here. If it gets there, I'm going to be lucky or good. Lucky or good. Upstart. Right back to the roadmap line. That's the target. We get below it, how it can go right back to the bottom, right down here. TYGO. right back to the bottom. NVEI. Oh, lower low. Garbage. That can go to 0. And they actually made money, but that was a 3-wave and bearish. And had I pulled this up before, I would have said probably coming down to 18, if not 11. So classic move would be where we hit already, 18.75, bounce back up, stop at that prior low, and get the extension. That would be the classic move. It can just extend lower. DOCS, proximity, that looks like a hot mess of sideways. I don't care how much it's moving today. That looks like a hot mess. That is exactly what I expect out of a hot mess. And probably going to go lower. That was a choppy, nasty move up off the low. The extension 1850. Pub M, right back to the lows. Probably going to go lower. That one actually looked like it could. That's the thing. Like when these charts look funky, when they come popping off the bottom, they tend to retrace it. Maybe not lower low, but they tend to retrace it very deeply before they can start making positive action. NVO, that's a crazy move and probably going to retrace that at some point. Made the morning movers because it was down a bit. Pre-market, rallying back up, but at some point, they can't go exponential forever. Roblox, ouch. Yeah, deep retrace. Let's see how low can Roblox go. It's already at the target, 29. Maybe retrace up to 33 and extension out to 25. Kind of retest the bottom. If he gets extensions lower, probably down to 1950, lower low. There you go. Yeah. Hey, this day and age, I would not bet that all sorts of things couldn't go below 0. Usually 0 is the lowest, but hey, we're in a new world where we've had oil trade below 0. So there's the bottoms for Roblox. Possibly here, possibly 25, possibly 1950. Have to see where support holds. The pattern looks like it's set up to get that extension, actually. Would not surprise me one bit. They lose a ton of money on a fair bit of revenue. They haven't been able to make money. Like, they're one of the most successful monetization platforms for kids, is what I keep hearing over and over. But how is that successful if you lose crap tons of money? Again, my analogy on make it up for in volume. I mean, look, they're increasing revenue. They reported 680. They expect, or the Bloomberg estimates are that they report $830 million of revenue, and they're going to lose 45 cents. Activision here that Microsoft is buying. They flipped billions of dollars and actually turned it into cash. That's what they're competing with. And that's why Microsoft's probably going to buy them out at 95. Looking like people are a little doubting it, but if you might want to make a quick $3, I mean, buy some of that and sit on it until Microsoft buys it out. Then you got $3 a share. You got to use $91, almost $92 a share to do it. But that's a fair return. Anyway. All right. Expectation for the day. That's kind of the bottom of the list. Expectation of the day. I am hopeful. I know hope is not a strategy. Never should be. I'm hopeful we can hold this trend line. Not looking too good right at the moment. If we don't, we get a couple candle closes or just an immediate push on down below this 618 level at 4502. We are probably going extensions right down here, 4466. Just one to keep an eye on. If we can break back above this high, we do have that high and that high to contend with. If we can get pushed on up through there, we'll go back on up and retest those higher levels that I was talking about earlier. Up there around 45.75, 45 or 4600. We have that prior high, that resistance zone where we couldn't break last week. I think it was last week. Maybe it was week before last. Time's flying. Yeah, it was week before last. Couldn't break above that. If we can break above that, extensions are on up here, 46.75. Probably not going to happen today. That's probably a longer term situation, multi-day plan. So in the short term, here's your, see lower highs, lower high, lower high, lower high. That's no bueno. That's no bueno. Not good. So, this is where my attention is right now. That's where my attention is for the whole market, really. I'm going to watch this. S&P 500 is kind of the indicator for me. Where the S&P goes, that's where the market goes. And check in on the darling we talked about yesterday, pushing lower. Daily roadmap line, that's the target. Probably coming down here. That area right there. 170 to 175. If we get below that, watch out below on Apple. But the market probably might not be able to bounce until Apple gets down here. Apple does represent the largest, or one of the largest, between Apple and Microsoft, that's 50% of the market or some stupidness. So as those two go, that's your market for you. Now we can see rotation out of these two and into other stuff, but they both look like they're gunning for that roadmap line. Be careful out there. I'll be in Discord. If you want to come join me in Discord, links in the description. It does cost like $5 for 3 months, and that's what I do for people that show me support. Greater than just watching videos. If you do like what the content I said, anything I said today, give me a thumbs up or share it with somebody. That would be even more valuable than the thumbs up. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you hit the alerts with the things. I'll be back again live tomorrow morning. Bye for now. Thanks, everybody.